I did not go out on July 4th and would not. The idea of going to a mass gathering, a parade, or a big fireworks thing outside seems insane to me, to be blunt, in America, because America is awash with guns, and now people don't just have them, they seem to want to shoot people with them.
Yes, Joyless Reed at MSDNC reflecting on her 4th of July festival. You know, race paranoia, guns, and, what can I tell you, Joyless? It's probably best that you stay home, huddled in the corner, with a rifle of your own, crying. Seems appropriate, doesn't it? It's a Joyless Reed. She's terrified. Although, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the radio yesterday, but it's true. My best girl in Portugal the other day, we came home from Portugal on Sunday after our annual sea cruise, Spain and Morocco and Portugal, and talking to people in Portugal, both in the south and the Algarve, where we were told by a local Portuguese man that 40% of the real estate sales there are to Americans. I believe I talked about that yesterday. And around Lisboa, not in Lisbon proper, but in the surrounding environs, lots and lots of Americans buying homes there, homes and condos and things. And a Portuguese gentleman in Lisbon told us that he said, friends in real estate and so on. And he said, what we're hearing is that people are fleeing the United States because it's not safe. They don't feel safe. And I said, well, you're probably getting a lot of Democrats then, and that's bad. They're going to turn your country into a socialist country. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it'll be perfect. Maybe instead of moving to Texas, they should all move to Portugal. Already pretty socialistic. But never mind that. It's a fascinating thing. That was Joyless Reed. She's afraid to go out on the 4th of July. And honestly, and let's face it, it's Democrats shooting people there. Baltimore, they had 30 people shot in a single incident. And now the Democrats, you'll never guess. You know who the Democrats are blaming? Dun, 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 dun. They're blaming the police. It's the fault of the police. Now, if the police had gone there early, it was a block party kind of thing, then they'd be accused of being racist. They'd have to be racist because, it was an African-American situation, and 30 people shot, the victims and the perpetrators, African-American, in Philadelphia and Chicago. Overwhelmingly, we're talking about black-on-black crime. You're not allowed to say black-on-black crime because the Democrats say so. Of course, you can't do anything in Washington, D.C. I talked about it yesterday. 9 people shot in a single incident, including, I think, a 9-year-old child and a 17-year-old teenager. And if you point out, if you have the sufficient powers of observation to notice that we're talking overwhelmingly about black-on-black crime, while they want to talk about white supremacists in every woodpile, right? Then you're a racist for bringing it up. But let me just make this point. You can't do anything about it if you can't talk about it. Step 1 in every one of Hunter Biden's 12-step programs is admitting the problem. It's, here's the problem, now let's address it. And then the next 11 steps begin to fall into place, right? And if you can't say out loud what is happening, then there is a certainty, and the certainty is that nothing will be done about it. That's the Democrat Party's plan, because they're not liberals, they're the left. They're the left. And boy, is it showing all over America. Speaking of government censorship, I've got a whole bunch for you today on government censorship as well. Dr. Marty Makary from Johns Hopkins University Medical Center on the television this morning in the 5 a.m. hour. I was there for you. And also the Attorney General out of the state of Missouri, who is one of the plaintiffs in the Supreme Court case. The Supreme Court ruled that the Biden administration has been engaged, and the federal government, in censorship of political perspectives, and it's infected corporations, and it's terrible, and they're quashing free speech in the United States of America because they're not liberals, they're the left. Liberals believe in free speech and the marketplace of ideas. Leftists believe in cracking down on free speech and trampling the rights of people to exercise their free speech rights. And then when liberals run corporations, so-called self-described liberals run corporations, then it infects corporations as well. And in fact, we've got some MSDNC or CNN saying that, can imagine living in a country, was it DNC?
MSN.
It was DNC saying, imagine living in a country where the government can't trample your free speech rights. That'd be terrible. And it's mind-boggling. This army of zombies has been launched out of left-wing colleges around the United States of America, and now their cancerous death cult lunacy is in charge and in positions of responsibility all over the country in corporate boardrooms and in media organizations where the guy, I'm paraphrasing just a little bit, oh, can you imagine living in a country where the government can't tell social media companies to crush stories about Hunter Biden and the Biden family and the millions of dollars? What kind of a country would that be? Oh, it'd be a free country. It would be the United States of America until the left sunk their vampire-like teeth into our jugular and started sucking the lifeblood out of Western civilization and the Enlightenment. But we'll get into that because there's a lot to talk about there. So we got that going for us. And then, of course, speaking of Hunter Biden, there's the cocaine in the White House. And I think, you shared the thing yesterday, I think, right? That they're already saying, oh, gosh, we'll probably never find out. Just, because we have 200,000 cameras in every nail and light socket and electrical outlet in the White House, don't think that we're going to find who left the cocaine in the White House, which means that they're deliberately telling us up front that they're going to lie to us again, which has become pretty normal. Maybe they should have the FBI investigate, and 5 years from now, on a Friday at 6:30 p.m. on a 3-day weekend, they can release a one-sentence statement saying that they have nothing further to say on the matter. It reminds me of the end of the movie The Parallax View, a fun conspiracy movie, Warren Beatty from the 1970s. The Parallax View. And, we're living in a kind of, even the judge, the federal judge, he was a Trump appointee. Yeah, which is why he respects the Constitution and free speech. And also note, because I point this out all the time because it's true and I want you to notice this, that the news media only cites that it's a Trump appointee, the judge, or a Bush appointee when it's an anti-left-wing thing. But when it's a pro-left-wing thing, it's always an Obama appointee or a Biden appointee or a Clinton appointee, the judge. And they never point that out. They never say, the Obama appointee said that, yes, you can hack children to death with machetes. They didn't, if they've taken your parking space or something like that. So I'll get into that. Yeah, so the cocaine culprit unlikely to be found, law enforcement official, singular, doubtless anonymous, tells the left-wing blog site Politico. Amazing. And and then Andrea Mitchell, she's a long-time reporter. She's been reporting since, I don't know, she was in the White House starting with Jimmy Carter, I think. And, God bless her heart. And she asked yesterday, do you think the magnetometer would detect cocaine? Well, I guess maybe if it were full of steel scraps, maybe, but otherwise probably not. See, it's called a metal detector, not a cocaine detector. And then people ask about the dogs. The dogs at the White House are they're EOD dogs, explosive ordnance disposal dogs. They're trained to detect explosives. And normally your drug-sniffing dog is not also a bomb-sniffing dog. It's not unheard of. But normally your dog at the White House specializes, Belgian Malinois or German Shepherd, whatever, specializes in detecting explosives and not also drugs. And, Hunter doesn't show up that often, so why would you also have drug-sniffing dogs at the White House? But we'll get into that. So they legalized the marijuana in Maryland because a stoned voter is a Democrat voter. And the dumber you are, the more likely you are to vote for Democrats. And if you smoke dope every day, you're going to be dumber and dumber as the years go by. See, that's how that works. So the Democrats are legalizing pot. They should just legalize cocaine. Then they can just drop the non-investigation at the White House. Anyway, But in any case, over $10 million in marijuana sold in the first 2 days of legal sales in the state of Maryland, which is, again, this goes back to the Godfather and the Corleone family, because the government, the Democrat-controlled government, they're putting organized crime out of business because they're taking over all of the businesses that organized crime used to be in, right? They are, in California, in San Francisco, they've unionized the prostitutes, and they call them sex workers now because they're organizing what they call sex workers. They want their daughters to grow up to be street hookers. Well, they want them to be indoor hookers because that's part of the thing, you know. So they've unionized the prostitutes, and they call prostitutes sex workers now. And that's because they want to legalize it. You know why? Because they like prostitutes, for one thing, and avail themselves of their services. Look at Hunter Biden again, Russian hookers and all that good stuff. The exotic dancer, not a prostitute, but the Democrats, they like prostitution because they like prostitutes. But there's more to it than that. They want to legalize it because once everything that is now illegal becomes legal, there will be no crime, by today's definition. We'll just live in an environment where crimes are like shoplifting. They've legalized shoplifting. They should legalize carjacking, too, because that's the Democrat Party rage now. But in any case, back to the Corleone family. See, they controlled the prostitution, right? And Santino, Sonny Corleone, he wanted to get into drugs, but Vito Corleone, he didn't want to because that's dirty business. But there's a lot of money in that white powder pop, right? As Sonny explained to Vito. And so the Democrats, they're taking over the prostitute and then the gambling, because the Corleone family controlled gambling. And you know why they did that? So they could get their piece, so they could get a cut, so they could wet their beaks, so the big guy could get 10%, okay? That's why the Corleone family was in gambling. That's why they were in prostitution. And that's why later on they got into drugs, okay? Now the state, under Democrats, they have gotten into drugs, marijuana, $10 million first 2 days. You know why they legalize it? Because they get their cut. The state, the Democrats, they get their piece. They're wetting their beak. It's the taxes. They tax it at a much higher rate than groceries and other things. So they get money. That's why, because they're hooas. And gambling, sure, they legalized gambling. Used to be gambling was in Nevada and then some in Atlantic City. Now everywhere. And they say, oh, well, because Native Americans were big gamblers before the racist white Europeans stole their land. No. But the Democrats figured out that if you allowed Native American tribes, Indian tribes, to have major casinos, that their daughters could go there to become prostitutes, and that would make them happy, and that they'd get their piece, they get their cut. So the Corleone family being squeezed out of, they're really killing organized crime. You think Rudy Giuliani killed organized crime in New York City, and he did. He did a great job when he was district attorney, then U.S. attorney there. But then the Democrats, they get their piece of the dope now. They get their piece of the gambling, and they're on their way to getting their piece of prostitution. So they're putting, the Corleone family are putting organized crime out of business because they are becoming organized crime. They are morphing into organized crime. And for the same reason, because they want their cut. They want their piece. See? And a cross-dressing lunatic shot and murdered 5 people in Philadelphia. And the left is going crazy, saying the far right is already using Philadelphia shooting to smear trans people. Well, how many transgender mass murderers do you have to have before it becomes a topic of discussion? But if it becomes a topic of discussion, you can't have that. And again, it's like the Wuhan Red Death coming from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. You can't discuss that. You can't discuss the Hunter Biden laptop. You can't discuss Hunter Biden's emails. You can't discuss Big Guy getting a 10% cut, right? Can't discuss that. And that's where censorship, government censorship, comes in with media backing. I've got all that and a lot more coming up today. Mark Zuckerberg, Democrat Party left-wing tool billionaire, and the protest the left has planned for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game coming up. We're at 888-630-9625. Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store. Okay. We have returned. Today is mailbag day because we missed it yesterday for a variety of reasons I'll explain later. And we have actually only a small handful of questions today to get to in the mailbag from you, our beloved listeners. And right now, let's go to the telephones. What do you think? The Democrats have once again given me an overabundance of crazy, and I will share as much of it as possible in 3 hours. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Leslie calling from Rockville, Maryland. Leslie, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Yes, I can.
All right, great. I just have to say, it was so good to have you back, and I was so excited on Monday when I realized that your TV show was going to be back before you were back on the radio. You, my friend, fill my 8 p.m. void. I'm telling you. It's nobody. You're always saying like your best girls laughing and you guys are having fun. Your life, man, must be like mass hysteria on a daily basis. I'm very jealous. No, seriously. I'm not done. I'm sorry. The squad is on fire. You guys are the ensemble, wow. Must see TV. It's your radio show on steroids. I'm serious. I have been a listener since, and I was trying to figure out what year this was. But since you were on in the evening, early-ish evening, what was the time slot that you were on then?
What was the time? What I was on then?
In the evening when you were first on the radio.
Oh, I was. I started on Sunday afternoon on the radio. And then I was moved to Monday through Friday after somebody was fired at WMAL. I was moved to Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I was on after Mark Levin then, who I guess was only on till 8 p.m. because I was on 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then we'd go out afterward. My best girl and I would go out at 10 o'clock and we got to places. We got and have beers and stuff at 10 o'clock. And that was fun. And then they fired somebody else at WMAL, and they put me in at 9 a.m. to noon, right? When was that? 2008, 2007, somewhere in there. And then they fired me. Then they fired me, and they put in Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, and that didn't work out very well. So then they fired them. Yeah, that was a disaster. They fired them, and they put me back in. Yeah, and so you liking the Newsmax show at 9 o'clock.
Oh, my God. It is so. I don't get to hear most of your show in the morning just because of work and stuff. But I get home and sometimes I don't get home until after 9, and I can't get Newsmax without Wi-Fi, so I am deprived until I get home.
Well, thank you for being you. All right, the Democratic Party isn't. They're the party of censorship in the United States of America in the 21st century. And the Democratic Party was never in favor of government censorship in the past. But social media came along. They always had, or they have long had, media dominance, newspaper and television news and entertainment media dominance and show business and all that stuff. They've enjoyed music. They've enjoyed that kind of cultural dominance and media dominance for many years. Social media came along, and the creepy left wheedled their way into the Silicon Valley, and they made sure that everybody was on Team Lefty, right? And they were kind of naturally predisposed, bunch of California long-haired, dope-smoking hippie freaks and stuff. And And when they created these platforms from the Facebook, Zuckerberg is not very bright. He started a new social media platform to compete with Twitter. He created it yesterday. Claims that he got 10 million signups in no time at all, lickety-split, as Chaz Bono likes to say. And he's, he's not as creepy as some of them, but he just wants to go along to get along. And he's an insecure high school kid who suddenly has $150 billion or whatever he has. What does he have? Probably more than that, I think. And, he could buy Albania and turn it into a shopping mall, which might be good for Albania, actually. But that's another discussion for another day. And then, of course, they had that Rasputin guy, Jack Dorsey, with the creepy beard and the weird look on his face with Twitter. And he was apparently happy to be corrupted, although I give him a little bit of credit because Jack Dorsey, owner of Twitter, the FBI is knocking on his door saying, don't let people share this Russian disinformation. The creepy FBI, the creepy FBI. Actually, on the sea cruise, there was an career FBI guy with us who had been with us before and who was called into the show before. And our FBI shipmate was, even while he was there, he was texting with some still active FBI friends of his, still active duty FBI friends of his. And they're saying, hey, tell Chris that most of us are still the good guys. It's just the leadership, which is a big problem. You don't have to corrupt everybody in the FBI, just corrupt the leadership and people in key positions in Washington. And then you've corrupted the FBI. But in any event, it's, of course, true that the overwhelming majority of FBI field agents and so on are dedicated, great American public servants, law enforcement people. And then the people in Washington take 17 years to complete an investigation into parking violations and then issue a memo at 6:30 on Friday on a 3-day weekend saying nothing, because that's the problem. But in any case, I digress. The social media dominance, and then they got into the business of censorship very casually, very cavalierly. They say, well, look, we've got the power to abuse, and as I've been saying for years, give a lefty a thimble full of power and they'll abuse it before the sun goes down. Give a lefty a position of power at the FBI, and that lefty, because he's a lefty, not because he's an FBI official or an FBI agent, the lefty will abuse that power. If that lefty is at the Internal Revenue Service, they will abuse that power at the Internal Revenue Service. It doesn't matter where they are. In the Washington, D.C. district government, they'll abuse that power. And so lefties they're the corrupting influence. Leftism is the corrupting force here. And the left has, they long ago, like an invading army of Leninists, they methodically and systematically took over higher education, college campuses, and they started indoctrinating, right? And then the creepy, insidious things that they are, the teachers' unions, they took over the teachers' unions, and this year on the NEA, National Education Association, or is it the National Teachers Union, recommending summer reading for the kiddies of homosexual child porn, like genderqueer graphic novel with man on boy, boy on man graphic depictions of, if you took pictures of these acts and posted them on the internet, the FBI would come arrest you. And in the meantime, the NEA is recommending it for your children as summer reading. Every word I just said is true. Although it's the NEA or the National Teachers is one or the other. But in any case, it's the left. It's always the left. It's the left and the left. That's the thing. All right, and I've got the censorship news for you today because the Democrats love censorship. They saw the opportunity. Hey, we can corrupt the presidential election. People at the FBI said they're Democrats. They call themselves Democrats, and they say they're liberals, but they're leftists. And they abuse their power at the FBI, and they should be in ankle shackles and handcuffs with chains around the waist, in orange jumpsuits. And I'm not saying we turn them over to ISIS and send them to the beach or anything, but they need to be held accountable, and they won't be, I'm convinced. And And I'm an optimistic person, not a cynical person, but I've been paying attention for some time now. So I expect that there will be no accountability because it's Washington. It's an accountability-free zone. You can go and lie under oath to Congress again and again about spying on all the American people and stealing all our data, and no problem. There's no accountability whatsoever. Why would that be an issue? Then you set the precedent again and again of lying under oath to Congress, and then the government officials keep going up to Congress and lying under oath, and it's no big deal. Why would that be a problem? And that means we're living in a lawless society. And, of course, the Democrats, okay, looting. Oh, there was another looting video, too. You see this looting video? Looting a grocery store, and the employee walked outside. Employee, apparently also a military officer, and walked outside with his phone and made video of the three thieves, a whole shopping cart full of stuff from a grocery store, loading up the car and stealing it all. And the grocery store employee walked out making video of them and say, hey, what are you guys doing? And that's it, and made video. And the grocery store chain fired the employee, which is the end of civilization as we know it. And I hope to get to that story today as well. Yeah, and the censorship, but I've got a lot for you on censorship. So stand by for that, because this is talk about the end of civilization, the end of Western civilization, the Magna Carta, the Enlightenment under assault in the United States of America. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the rule of law, under assault in the United States of America. And when the government is engaged in censorship, and the government is engaged in censorship, and it is political censorship, and all of the censorship benefits the left and is to the detriment of conservatives and people that support the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and free speech, one of the most fundamental bedrock rights in the United States, and thanks to the United States, in Western civilization. But we'll get into that, because I've got a lot of good information and audio for you on that. Before we get to that, let's go to the telephones, because I've been away for a little while, and Mike the Lib has called in.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike the Lib is here, calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Mike the Lib, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mike the Lib.
Okay. First of all, it would have been nice if the Secret Service, who leaked that information to the Daily Mail, had clearly stated that it was found in the visitors area of the White House. So any visitor could have placed it there.
What was found?
We didn't have to. The cocaine.
There was cocaine found in the White House? Was Hunter Biden there?
In the visitors area, Chris. Everybody goes there to visit the White House to drop off their cell phones and have a recording device with them when they go on the tour.
Are you shoving the phone into your mouth? What's the?
No, Chris. Okay, is that better?
That's better. Yeah. Talk to the phone. Come on.
Okay.
You're an intelligence officer.
Fine.
Use the cell phone properly. It's.
Well,
all right. So you called in. You called in to defend Hunter Biden and everybody that works in the.
I called in to say that the news media got it wrong. The Secret Service, when they reported that information, didn't tell the whole truth.
Wait a minute. The news media didn't tell the whole truth?
No. The Daily Mail didn't. The Daily Mail got the scoop, okay? They got the scoop. They might have actually planted the information in the first place.
The Daily Mail planted the information. What information did they plant?
The cocaine, probably, Chris.
The Daily Mail planted the cocaine in the White House?
Well, somebody planted it there.
It was planted there. Somebody didn't leave it there. Somebody planted it there. So this is a plot, an illegal plot. And who are they trying to incriminate?
They're trying to incriminate Hunter Biden, probably.
Probably.
If the Secret Service would have came out right away and said it was at the visitors area, then it would have been clearly it was not Biden family, because he would not have used that entrance.
So you think his coke is in a different part of the White House?
No, I think this was basically a total setup by the conservative news media. That's what I believe. The
British conservative news media, total setup?
Yeah, well, you never heard of that before. I guess. Okay, yes, the fourth Viscount who basically owns the Daily Mail.
You are quite the conspiracy theorist, I've got to say.
This is evidence. I'm hoping they have cameras in that visitor area. They can go through it. They can find out who.
You're hoping? You think
Yeah,
maybe they
well,
don't?
I don't know. I would assume they would because they have cameras everywhere else in the White House.
I've got
Security purposes.
I've got 3 cameras within arm's length of me right now. I think the entrance to the White House where random people come in is probably pretty well saturated with cameras. Don't you think? They cost about $12. Don't you think that it's utterly sad? Now, here's if you're going to start sowing conspiracy theories, wild.
I'm selling an investigation. This is how you have to do an investigation.
That's what Soviets always do. First, there's the accusation,
No. Okay.
then there's the investigation, and
No. The Secret Service screwed up when they leaked that information to the Daily Mail. That's who they need to investigate. Who leaked that information? Who leaked that information to the press?
So you think the fact that the information got out means that someone should be held accountable?
Yes, somebody should be held accountable if it was going to be a criminal investigation of it. Yes, you're not supposed to leak you're supposed to leak information in criminal investigations. We have too many Secret Service agents that basically don't understand the law.
It's the cops' fault, just like in Baltimore where 30 people were shot and Democrats are blaming the police because, I got to say that this is some pretty wild-eyed stuff. You're attacking the Secret Service.
No, they should have never have leaked that information. If it's an ongoing investigation, you're not supposed to leak the information.
Let me pick up today's Washington Post and start reciting all of the leaks to you in every story from 2 anonymous sources.
Criminal investigation, okay.
From 2. Now you want crimes. You say crimes were committed because a leak. Is that right?
Yes. You should never. How did that information get to the Daily Mail? And it was inaccurate information at that.
It was inaccurate, and it wasn't really inaccurate information.
No, they didn't say visitor area. They said the West Wing. That's what they said.
Is the visitors area in the West Wing?
No, but you basically have to have it visitor area, common area, not staff. Oh, it was staff brigade. No, it's not that.
So you want to launch a witch hunt against the Secret Service and have people held criminally. Hang on, and have people held criminally liable because a story made it to the press that cocaine was found in the White House.
Yes, until the investigation was completed, it should never have been leaked. It should never have been leaked.
Do you think you're closer on the political spectrum to Joseph Stalin or to Vladimir Lenin or to
either, Chris?
Chairman Mao? Maybe Mao Zedong? Maybe you prefer the
rule of law, Chris.
You prefer the National Socialist Workers Party? Doesn't the rule of law,
Chris.
Isn't there an issue with
when you have
cocaine? Isn't cocaine illegal?
Yes, but there has to be complete investigation before that information is released. They should not have released that to the Daily Mail. They should not have done that.
This is the Democrat Party's situation. This is their view here. So the cocaine. Now, the thing is the Politico, which is the Politico. It's a radical left-wing extremist front group for the Democrat Party, and their headline is White House cocaine culprit. There's a culprit unlikely to be found. Unlikely to be found. Law enforcement official tells the Daily Mail. And that's because I think they're not going to investigate. Why would they not investigate? Why would they? They got cameras. I know they've got cameras. Everybody knows they've got cameras all over the place, and they've got video. And they can look for just something dropping. You got to put a motion thing on your video. And, remember Capitol Hill, January 6th. There are about 25,000 cameras. The entrance to the White House where random people come in that might have anthrax, I don't think cocaine, at least this amount of cocaine, could kill the president of the United States. But if it were anthrax or something, that could be an issue, don't you think? Yeah. All right. Well, this is Mike the Lib. Mike the Lib, thank you for calling in, and this is the left-wing view that cocaine is found in the Biden White House, and the Secret Service should be facing criminal charges because it's a slippery slope, isn't it? It's a cliff, really. From what people describe as liberalism to totalitarianism, to fascism. And this is, they call themselves liberals. He's Mike the Lib. See, it's because For Democrats listening, Lib is short for liberal, and he's Mike the Liberal. And this is his take on it. Not that the person that brought the cocaine into the White House should be found out, but that the fact that this information having to do with an incident on publicly owned property where the president lives, that information became public. That's the problem. And law enforcement people ought to be in handcuffs. Now, I'll pick up my Washington Post and start reading to you page after page all the leaks coming from government officials. But Mike won't want any accountability on those. Nuh-uh. Mm-mm. All right. Well, there is a lot of reporting on this, but, the left is the left all over the world and has been for a century. And, when you're going to be wrong about everything, be wrong about everything and stand firm. Let's go back to the phones. I've got audio for you on this as well, but the censorship, the assault on free speech in America by Biden and the left, that is a gigantic story in America, and the left hates free speech and the free practice of religion. They hate religion. Dog is their co-pilot, as you know. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to James, calling from beautiful Watertown, New York. James, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, James.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I read the New York Post every day, and on page 11, it says that the registration book for the West Wing ends March 31st, that there's been no entries since then for the tours to go through the West Wing.
Well, that doesn't sound suspicious or curious at all, James. And if you think that's curious or suspicious, then you're probably a wild-eyed QAnon conspiracy theorist. See, that's what the news media will say.
I am.
I agree. I am.
But it's hard to explain to these people. You get the whole story. I like it when Mike the Lib calls. It's a lot of fun listening to him. But they always come up with these lies or these different stories. It was on CBS even this morning that the tourist left the bag in there in the other room, the waiting room or whatever, and there hasn't been any there since April, May, June.
Yeah.
So they can check that out because page 11 on the New York Post paper today, I get it every day.
It should probably be censored, don't you think? We've got that coming up, too. Thank you, James.